Hello everyone, I am Jamaica Gibutanero and I will be the first to report about design thinking. What is design thinking? Design is our future. Design thinking is a methodology used by the designers to help them solve complex problems and create solutions and products that meet people's needs. It is a start with a general goal, not just specific problem to help create broader ideas. It is approach used for practical and creative problem solving. It is based heavily on the methods and processes that designers use. It has actually evolved from a range of different fields. It includes engineering and business. It can also be applied to any field. It doesn't necessarily have to be design specific. It can also focuses on human, first and foremost, seeking to understand the people's need and come up with effective solutions. So what this design thinking actually means? So let's take a look.
What is the difference between solution-based and a problem-based thinking? So, solution-based thinking focuses on finding solution and coming up with something constructive and effective a certain problem. So, while the problem-based is opposite to solution-based because the problem-based is fixed on obstacles and the limitations. A good example of these two approaches in action is an empirical study carried out by Brian Lawson. So Lawson wanted to investigate how a group of designers and a group of scientists would approach particular problem. So he set each group the task of creating one-layer structures from a set of color blocks. But there were unspecified rules regarding the placement and relationship of some of the blocks, the problem or solution. Lawson published his finding in his book How the Designers Think, in which he observed that the scientists focus on identifying the problem, while the designers prioritize the need to find the right solution. The scientists adopted a technique of trying out of series of design which use as many different blocks and combination of blocks as possible as quickly. So, thus, they tried to maximize the information available to them about the allowed combinations. On the other hand, the designers selected their blocks in order to achieve appropriate colored perimeter. So, also, Lawson's findings go to the heart of what design thinking is all about. It is an iterative process which favors ongoing experimentation until the right solution is found. So, that would be all for the difference of solution-based and problem-based thinking.
What is the process of design thinking? As already mentioned, the design thinking process is a progressive and highly user-centric. Before looking at the process in more details, let's consider the four principles of design, which are the human rule, the ambiguity rule, all design is redesigned, and last is the tangibility rule. So let's talk about the first principle, which is the human rule. So it means that no matter what the context, all design activity is social in nature, and any social innovation will bring us back to the human-centric point of view. Second principle is the ambiguity rule. It is inevitable and it cannot remove or oversimplified. Experimenting at the limits of your knowledge and the ability is crucial. The third principle is the design rule. It means that all design is redesigned. While technology and social circumstances may change and evolve, human needs remain unchanged. We essentially only redesign the means of fulfilling these needs or reacting desired outcomes. The last principle is the tangibility rule. It means that making ideas in the form of prototypes, it enables designers to communicate them more effectively. So let's talk the 5 P's of design thinking. Based on these 4 principles of design, thinking process can be broken down into 5 steps or 5 phases, which are the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So the first phase is empathize. It means that empathize provides the critical starting point in our design thinking, because the first stage of the process is to spend in getting to know the user and understanding and their wants, needs, and objectives. This means that observing and engaging on people in order to them to understand psychological and emotional level. During this phase, the designer seeks to set aside their assumptions and gather need insights about the user. Second phase is design. For all we know, the second stage in the design thinking process is dedicated in defining a problem. You need to gather all your findings from the empathize phase and start to make sense of what difficulties they are facing and what's the problem of the big users that the team needs to solve. After defining phase, you will have a clear statement. The key to is to frame or focus to the problem rather than saying that we need to. Once you've done formulated the problem into words, you can start to come up with solutions and ideas, which bring us on the stage 3. The third phase is ideate, which is a solid understanding of users on a clear problem. It's time to start on working on potential solutions. The third phase, which is the ideate, is the process is where the creativity happens and is crucial to the point out of the ideation stage. It is a judgment of a free zone. There are many different types of ideation technique that the designer might use: brainstorming, mind mapping, to body storming, and provocation, an extreme literal thinking technique that gets the designer to challenge established beliefs and explore new options and alternatives. By the end of ideation phase, you will narrow it down to a few ideas which to move forward. The fourth step on design thinking process is all about experimentation and turning ideas into tangible products. Prototype is basically a scaled-down version of the product which incorporates the potential solution identified in the previous stages. The key to this is putting each solution to the test and highlighting any constraints and flaws. Throughout the prototype stage, the proposed solutions may be accepted, improved, redesigned, or rejected depending on the fare in the prototype form. The 5 phase is test. After prototyping comes user testing, but it's important to roll that this is really the end of the design thinking process. The result of the testing phase will often lead you to the previous step, providing the insights you need to redefine the original problem statement or to come up with new ideas you hadn't threw out before. So always remember the 4 principles of design thinking. First is the human rule, second is the ambiguity rule, third is the all design is redesigned, and fourth is the tangibility rule. Remember also the 5 P's of design thinking, which is the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test.
Is design thinking a linear process? No, linear. Iterative process that teams use to understand users, challenge assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions to prototype and test. Non-linear process plans are the basis for a flexible reactions to changes of the current state in production system. Adaptive processes planning requires non-linear process plans in order to identify these non-linear processes. Plans' alternative processing steps have to be defined in a first. What is the purpose of design thinking? Design thinking provides a structured process that helps innovators break free of counterproductive tendencies that thwart innovation. It is a social technology that blends practical tools with insights into human nature. Why is it important? Design thinking is a strategy for creative problem solving by prioritizing customers' requirements above everything else. It helps to engage a person in several opportunities like experimenting and creating a prototype model, gathering feedback and customers and redesigning a product using innovative solution. What are the benefits of design thinking? Many benefits applying design thinking to problem solving. First is creates innovative solutions. Second, expand design thinkers' knowledge. Third, forces new problems. Fourth, priorities the client's needs. And the last one, tackles the wicked problems.
What is wicked problem? Wicked problems are problems with many interdependent factors making them seem impossible to solve because the factors are often incomplete in flux. And difficult solving wicked problems requires a deep understanding of the stakeholders involved. The term wicked problem was coined by design theorist Horst Rittel in the 1970s to describe tricky problems that are highly ambiguous in design nature. Some examples of wicked problems in our society today include things like poverty, hunger, and climate. Solutions to wicked problems are not true or false, they can only be good and bad. Empathize. They set out to understand their target user, patients entering the hospital for treatment. Define. Based on their findings from the empathize stage, they determined that the fear reduction needed to be a priority. Ideate. With a deep understanding of their patients and clear mission statement, they started to brainstorm potential solutions. In the prototyping stage, the team presented the most promising ideas they had to come up with so far to those in charge of caregiving at the hospital. Test. As Dirk Dijkman and Roel van der Hage explained that the transition to formal adoption of these ideas tended to be more gradual. If an idea worked, sooner or later, other groups would ask if they could try it too, and the best ideas spread organically. The outcome. By adopting a design thinking approach, the Rotterdam Eye Hospital were able to get to the heart of their users' needs and find effective solutions to fulfill them. To start you on the path to become a better problem solver, here are the 5 examples yet effective tips for how to use design thinking in your daily life. First is visualize, reverse, commit, challenge, and lastly is empathize.
5 ways to use design thinking every day. Number 1. Visualize your problem. Visualization exposes significant themes and patterns, whether we are solving crucial global challenges or working on micro projects. Venn diagrams, flowcharts, and graphs assist us in identifying each moving element and drawing complex conclusions. Visualizing an issue allows us to better grasp and then reach an agreement with others. It also enables us to check if we're all viewing things the same way. Drawing anything also arranges it physically, letting viewers see relationships, sequences, and connections, or whatever we're trying to convey. For example, Venn diagrams, flowcharts and graphs are example of visual images. Number 3, reverse thinking. This means reversing a negative statement into a positive one. For example, let's say your main marketing object is to increase brand awareness within the millennial target market. Instead of asking, how do I appeal to this target market? You may reverse your thinking to instead ask yourself, how can I make sure this target market is never exposed to my brand? The answer could be never launch social media marketing campaigns or never conduct market research to identify current trends. By reversing the situation, you can see problems in a new light and decide what to prioritize. Number 4, empathize with your audience. Our problem-solving method will be more meaningful if we empathize with our own audience. For example, we would create content based on interactions with customers. Tell them just we will do for them, or even tell stories about other customers. Number 5, embrace risk in failure. We must overcome our fear of failure if we are serious about adopting creative thinking into our daily life. We can only come up with really breakthrough ideas and solutions if we accept and even welcome the risk of failure. Accepting ourselves and our circumstances as a part of life means embracing failure. It's a chance for us to improve, but it's not a measure of our future or self-worth. While certain things are beyond our control, failure and success frequently go hand in hand. Success almost always follows previous failures. Thank you.